This is the Dzogchen Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Come, let us explore spontaneous empathy before meditating like a Jedi. This mid-morning's lesson is based upon the second of 55 verses of the Shastra, the spaciousness of Vajrasattva, composed oh so many centuries ago by the great Buddhist reformer Vajra, whom the Tibetans describe as Gaurab Dorje. The fellow on the right-hand side of my page, to my friends who are watching this on the tube app. Excuse me. So I would like to begin by simply reading this passage and then explain it. Love, being our essence, attainment is already complete, and there is no need to strive at practicing great compassion. Love, being the supreme good, there is no need to extol the many splendid qualities of compassion. So, what I'd like to do is illustrate something by tapping button 9 and sharing some visual aids with you. Those who are rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel sometimes have enough self-awareness to recognize that they are lacking in kindness. And they sometimes try to remedy that by reciting praises that extol compassion, several of which can be found in the Mahayana Buddhist Shastra known as the Bodhicharyavatara, or the Bodhisattva's way of life. However, this morning's text reveals that there is no need to praise empathy or compassion or love. Let's continue with our exploration. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. The 90% of people, the 90% of meditation teachers strut about the countryside convinced that it's a wonderful thing to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Why, in the Dalai Lama's commentary to Essence of Refined Gold, he even lauds the superlative qualities of fear. Dalai Lama is a great guy, but he was raised to be described by these attributes. When we follow the advice of those who are rigid and controlling, when we follow their advice to actively focus and actively analyze, we cannot help but fatigue our dorsolateral and medial prefrontal cortex to the point that we begin presenting with symptoms of depression, no less triggering our amygdala, the seat of both anxiety and aggression. I think you can agree that aggression and empathy are antithetical. So here's the dark irony. When those who cling with white-knuckle intensity to the world view that says we must be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, then the best remedy they can conceive of for their crankiness is to analyze compassion and concentrate on it even more. The irony is, doing so will only worsen their anxiety and aggression. But I've got some good news for you. Neither the amygdala nor the prefrontal cortex constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. Consider, if you will, the spinal cord, whose fancy name is the autonomic nervous system. When we take a break from our exhausting habit of actively competing against it, and instead passively cooperate with it, passively cooperate with our autonomic nervous system, the anxiety and our aggression of our amygdala is calmed, and the empathy of our anterior cingulate gyrus is gently stimulated. How cool is that? The question remains, how do we do that? How do we passively cooperate with our autonomic nervous system? Simple. I'll show you in two parts. The first part, so our autonomic nervous system can be thought of as having two components. Let's begin with the first component. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are wired to automatically access the middle bit of our spinal cord, which is an attribute or a subset of our autonomic nervous system, and its name is the sympathetic nervous system. This bad boy has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way, to help us to notice, how to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, emoting, intending, reasoning, recalling, and imagining. All manner of phenomena. From the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. And now, here's the rule of thumb. The key to practicing effortless mindfulness is as follows. Every time we feel our chest swell with breath, we silently and mentally recite the verb watch. This is how we watch the antics of mind. Now, I promised you there were two subsets to our autonomic nervous system. Now we're going to look at the second of two subsets. What do we do with that which we noticed during our previous inhalation? We meditate. How does that work? What is the most efficient way to meditate? Glad you asked. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we are already wired to access the adduct of our spinal cord as well as its basement. These two regions work as a team, and that team is known as the parasympathetic nervous system. It has evolved to help us to relax to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and even as non-graspable as a vast empty void, like the illusion, the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand. And thus we see that whether we are discussing emptiness or whether we are discussing no self, both are merely metaphors to describe the fleeting experience latent within every exhalation. Are you waiting for a rule of thumb? Because here it is. The most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the verb rest. Each time we feel our chest subtly sink, as gently we exhale. That is the key to resting in the aspect of mind that is quite non-graspable. Now let's return to the opening text, the teaching text. Because we have an anterior cingulate gyrus, which is the seat of empathy, because it is accessed every time we cooperate with our autonomic nervous system, it is safe to say that love is our essence. And it's already complete. We already know how to love. We're already wired to love. Therefore, there is no need to strive at practicing great compassion. When someone annoys the hell out of us, the first thing we do is we practice vulnerability to be honest with what we're feeling. We silently and mentally recite the verb watch as we observe them or listen to them, and we listen to our own thoughts and we feel our own emotions. And we silently and mentally recite the verb rest as we exhale. Does that make the guy pull his head out of the warm, dark place he's keeping it? No. Does that change what we feel? No. But it frees us. It causes our choices and utterances and deeds to cut the puppet strings that dictate, that cause them to be controlled by our emotions. And so we feel emotions without being controlled by emotions. And that's the freedom the Buddha offers us. Not liberation from the presence of emotion, but liberation from its tyranny. And now that we understand this, let's tie this up with a big red bow by simply reciting this text. Love. Being our essence, attainment is already complete. And there is no need to strive at practicing great compassion. Love. Being the supreme good, there is no need to extol the many splendid qualities of compassion. And of course, I'm a cheat. I tease. I told you we were going to end this, but there's something I want to add. To do that, I'm going to switch gears and tap button 9 and go over yonder. The essence of the Buddha's path of enlightenment is the Eightfold Path. 50% of the Eightfold Path pertains to loving kindness. The essence of morality is nonviolence. The essence of all vows is simply love. And the key to generating that love, to lighting the match that's already in our hands, is to passively cooperate with our autonomic nervous system in harmony with our breathing in a manner that is known as mindfulness and meditation. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. 4. Meditate like a Jedi is made possible due to the generosity of viewers, just like you. And now the time has come for us to meditate like a Jedi. If you are watching on the Tube app, there is the essence of meditation instructions will be found in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. If you're watching on the clock app, the essence of meditation instructions are found up yonder. As we feel our chest swell with breath, let us silently and mentally recite the verb watch. As we feel our chest subtly sink, as gently we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite the verb rest. The free fall that is meditation can feel jarring to our controlling tendencies, our rigid tendencies. A useful workaround could be playing with a variation of Bengali crease counting. We could touch the tip of our left thumb to the lowest set of creases at the base of its left little finger, and then rest the left hand palms up in our lap. Every time we silently and mentally recite the verb watch as we feel our chest swell with breath, we could advance our right thumb up the creases and tips of each of its fingers. Let us do this together, beginning with the little finger. Having run out of places upon which to rest the tip of our right finger, it's time to now advance our left thumb. I said, sorry, I called this a finger. I should have called this the thumb. It's time to now advance our left thumb. And so now you get the basic idea of how we can count 16 sets of 16 inhalations each. It takes a little bit more than a minute to count 16 inhalations in our right hand. It takes a little bit more than 20 minutes to count 16 sets of 16 inhalations each upon our left hand. While gathering our first collection of 20 minutes, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger upon the tip of our left middle finger, palms up in our lap. When we begin collecting or gathering our second collection of 20 minutes, we can rest the second knuckle of our right middle finger on the tip of our left middle finger, palms up in our lap. And yes, you guessed it. When we begin gathering our third collection of 20 minutes, we could rest the third knuckle at near the top of our right middle finger. Anyway, upon the tip of our left middle finger, you guessed it, palms up in our lap. Overwhelmed? Repetition is the cure. Simply join me once every 12 hours or so, and within a week or two, you too could master the Buddha's path. The moment you have a specific question about the philosophies or techniques of Taoism, Buddhism, Tantra, Dzogchen, Zen, or Mahamudra, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions about every 5 minutes or so. The third enlightenment factor is energy. The easiest way to stoke the fires of our subtle energies is simply to do our best to gently sit up straight each time we inhale. Any posture, any that allows us to comfortably sit as well as sit up straight is beneficial. The fourth enlightenment factor is joy. When we feel rather cranky, habitually, not occasionally, but habitually, then we're probably not practicing mindfulness or practicing concentration. But when we're practicing mindfulness, we cannot help but be silly and happy and resilient. In about 3 1/3 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's third lesson, followed by meditating like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.